Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Vancouver Real. My name is Mike Zaremba, and I am a solo host today, but it's a pleasure to be here. Unfortunately, Andy couldn't make it in, but I'm going to light it up for you. We're going to have a lot of cool conversation happening today and a lot of fun. And I'm excited to dive into this one with our guest today. But before we get there, I got a few things I got to rhyme off just as per usual, and I'm going to try to make these as interesting as possible for you. So stick around. First, if you're joining us for the first time, what is Vancouver Real? Vancouver Real is a podcast. It's a media source, and we're a community as well. And we try to bring a voice to Vancouver that is really authentic, very personal, and very down to the individual. We want to share what's happening in the city. We want to share what's important within the city, and we're going to explore these things together with openness and non-judgmentalism, and try to increase our awareness around what's actually happening and what's important, what's going down in our city, and part of that is. What we try to do here is recognize the actual land that we are on. We are on Coast Salish people's land, the First Nations people that live here, which is made up of the Musqueam people, the Tsleil-Waututh people, and the Squamish people. And Vancouver is actually on unceded territory, and so we want to acknowledge that. And this is part of what we're about at Vancouver Real. Vancouver Real is bringing a little bit of a voice to the people here, both old and new. And so thank you for joining us today. And as always, we are podcasting here out of Float House at 70 West Cordova Street. Float House is our sponsor. It's our primary sponsor here. It is what makes Vancouver Real exist. It is what makes it provides us with this space and all the equipment to produce this podcast. So Float House is a necessity around here. And what is Float House? Well, Float House is a commercial flotation center that basically houses float tanks. So what's a float tank? Well, basically it's a really unique environment, and it's a tool that you can use to help manage stress and also manage chronic pain. It's an accelerant for physical recovery, and it's all done so through this natural environment that is created inside the float tank, which is about 10 inches of water with 900 pounds of Epsom salts dissolved into the water that's heated to the same temperature as the surface of your skin. So when you settle into that solution and you get really still, it's kind of hard to tell where your body ends and the water begins. That boundary sort of dissolves. It's also light proof inside, so it's very dark, but you can get out whenever you want. You're never trapped inside. And they're actually quite spacious as well. And your ears are under the water with earplugs, so you don't really hear anything. And you're floating in the solution, and that's why it's super dense with the Epsom salts. And so the forces of gravity are brought down to a minimum as well. So why would you do this? Well, it so happens that when you go into an environment of reduced external stimuli to the maximal degree, which is what a float tank is, you get a really strong relaxation response in the body. So it's basically the complete opposite of fight or flight. And in a day and age when we are hyper-connected, we are go, 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 this environment is becoming much more popular, and it makes a lot of sense. So if you haven't checked it out, use the promo code RECOVERY, and you will save 20% off a single float. And you can book at floathouse.ca. And we always want to recognize Omega Point YouTube channel. Omega Point is the YouTube channel of our producer and collaborator here on Vancouver Real, Omid Pakbin. He has a really powerful YouTube channel that he produces all the content himself. It's all original content that he uses sound bites from different well-known philosophers and speakers of past day and ages and contemporary day and ages. So check out Omega Point on YouTube and support that community as well, because Omid does a lot to help us here at Vancouver Real. So thank you, Omid. And finally, the Vancouver Real community, we have meetup groups that happen every month, and we want you to be a part of it. So come and check us out. Come and connect with us in person. Meet the other Vancouver Realers who come out to these events. Go to the Vancouver Real community page. It's a group page on Facebook, and you can see when the next one's coming out and see what we're doing. And we switch them up. We do nutrition workshops. We've done movement-based workshops. We've done sound and music-based workshops. We're personal development and habits building workshops. So really anything to help you evolve and grow and reach your potential. And that's another thing that we're about in Vancouver Real is helping people be inspired and motivated and believe in themselves that they can do whatever they want to do in this life. And that's part of the reason why we're here as well. So thanks for everybody for joining us today. And I want to get into today's show. Kind of, one of these ones that popped up unknowingly on our radar, and I'm super happy it did. And today we have with us Mr. Shon Wong, who's a local musician here, and he is currently filming me as well. That's totally cool. And Shon, you're the lead singer and really the heart behind the band Son of James, and sonofjamesmusic.com is your website. Man, welcome to Vancouver Real.
And thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you kind of reached out, and when I started digging into your story a little bit, I got more and more excited to have this interview with you and to share your story and to share your music. And so, man, I'm honored to have you on, and thanks for accepting the offer.
Man, I appreciate it. I appreciate your show and what you're doing for the city, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Cool. And I'll get into a little bit about yourself, but I want you to kind of elaborate for me. Basically, what I gathered from your interviews that I've seen already and your website, you're a very talented musician, and you're second generation Chinese Canadian, locally born here in Vancouver, and you've always been inspired by music, and you started creating your own music back in the earlier part of this millennia, back in 2000, 2001, I believe. And now you're making this more real. You're trying to make this into a profession, and I'm really inspired by your story. But why don't you tell us a little bit about Son of James and style of music and the makeup of the band and a little bit about the history, and then we can dive deeper from there.
Yeah, I guess Son of James, we're an eclectic band from Vancouver, made up of a lot of diverse cultures. Me and myself, again, second generation Chinese Canadian. Our who player, Chinese violinist, she's mainland Chinese. We have a female singer from the UK. Our drummer, Pete Robinson, he's First Nations. Then Andrew Peters and Adam Fulton, they're both from Canada as well. And we just blended this nice, Southern comfort sound with a blend of chilling, haunting Chinese instrumentation. Cool,
yeah. So something really unique, very... I think people will connect with this Southern comfort and be like, "Oh, I've heard stuff like this." But then when you add in the Chinese instrumentation, that's. I don't think I've ever heard anything like that before.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely different, and I've been experimenting with it for a long time.
Cool.
And I've heard this instrument throughout China. I've backpacked throughout all of China, and it was always an instrument that attracted me because there's no other instrument like it where it covers a lot of range when it comes to emotions. Under a masterful hand like Nicole, you can express anger, sorrow, happiness, sadness. It covers so much range when it comes to emotions.
Interesting.
And it's chilling. It's just haunting, and it's elegant.
Wow. And that's called you call it the erhu?
Erhu. Yeah.
And it's like it's a stringed instrument.
Yeah, it's a vertical instrument. It's 2 strings. You play it with horsehair with a bow.
Cool.
And the box is made out of snakeskin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. So where is that instrument indigenous to? Like, where does it have its roots?
I would say Beijing, Sichuan, all over China.
Yeah.
It's mainly it is a native Chinese instrument, and you can find it all over China.
Right.
For sure.
Is it something like coming from Chinese Canadian background, were you aware of this instrument? Is it relatively known within Chinese communities in Canada?
Yeah, because it's played within Chinese operas, right?
Oh, okay.
And
cool.
So you would hear that instrument a lot in Chinese opera music.
Right.
And growing up, my mom blasted her Chinese. I grew up in an apartment building downtown.
Okay.
So my mom would be blasting Chinese music, and I would have this sound in my head. And then, I would go out into the hallways. Then I hear rock and roll coming out from all these other apartments.
Okay.
So I'd come out from the hallways, come back in, hear my mom's music, go back in the hallway, hear the rock music. And I think that's what kind of marinated in my head in terms of what my sound is today.
Yeah. Which neighborhood did you grow up in?
Downtown, the West End, by English Bay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So an eclectic place anyways, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't always like that,
Right.
Like the West End itself was back in the day, it was the inner city. It isn't
Right.
sunshine and rainbows as it is today.
Right. I heard that actually.
Yeah.
I was talking with my girlfriend. Like, I'm not from Vancouver originally. I'm from Southern Ontario, and I've been out here since I came out originally in 2005, and then indefinitely since 2009. And she was saying, yeah, like the West End there wasn't what it is today. Like you're saying, it was kind of like inner city.
Yeah.
It wasn't super affluent by any means.
None.
It wasn't probably really touristic.
No.
So that's where you grew up.
Yeah, downtown. Yeah, it was I wouldn't say it was the ghetto, but it was like, it was inner city for sure.
Right.
Like Davie Street used to be full of hookers up and down.
Really?
Yeah.
Davie Street?
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. Huh. Well, it's amazing how even within the city itself, so many areas evolve. Like, like here in Gastown, right? Like 10 years ago, Gastown was super rough. No one came down here.
Yeah.
And, within that 10 years, it's evolving so fast. The gentrification, as it's called, right? And
Exactly.
Which poses different issues together as well in terms of the different populations down here, some of the different addiction populations that are, that's something that we always get into from time to time on the show, just because we're, that's where we are in Float House. We're right down here in Gastown, and this is our neighborhood. We're part of it, right? So we see it, and always try to bring a little bit of a voice to that as well. But coming back to your band, Son of James, like, well, I'll get into this right now. Like, what does the name Son of James, like, how did that come to be?
Well, basically we had a band name before.
Okay.
And the original band name was Wong Jack Man, and it was named after the guy who fought Bruce Lee in the underground. There was actually a movie made about it. Okay. Birth of the Dragon. It just got panned, right? And so this guy was the famous guy who fought Bruce Lee in this secret fight.
Really?
And there's a big dispute of who won. Right.
Wow.
So anyways.
What's the guy's name again?
Wong Jack Man.
Okay.
Right.
This is in San Francisco?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So I named my band after this guy. And before the movie came out, he wrote me an email pretty much saying, could use my name. I'm going to kick the shit out of you or something like that.
Really? He said you couldn't use my name?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess he didn't really ask. But he's still alive then?
Yeah, he's still alive.
Wow.
Yeah, so he wrote me this nasty email saying, stop using my name.
Wow. Interesting.
So anyways.
Man, I would have been like, sorry, dude, but can I have a coffee with you?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to sit down.
I probably did more with his name than he did with his own name.
Oh, man. That's so interesting. So, but why, I mean, I'm kind of curious though, but why were you interested in that name? Like, were you a Bruce Lee fan or did you hate Bruce Lee?
No, I love Bruce Lee.
Okay, so why did you want this guy's name that maybe beat him?
Yeah, because it was just it was a bit of an inside joke between me and my buddy.
Yeah.
Because I'm such a huge Bruce Lee fan.
Okay.
And my name is Wong.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So cool.
So it just made sense.
Yeah. No, that's funny.
And it had this country sound to it too.
Right.
And it kind of matched the music I was kind of doing.
Right.
So it just worked.
Okay.
Right.
But so he emails you. You can't use it anymore because it's going to kick your ass.
Yeah.
It's going to Wing Chun you to death.
Yeah.
And so you're like, all right, I'm not going to mess with that. And now you're Son of James. So how did you shift to Son of James?
Well, Son of James we went through this process of coming up with all these different names. And then my buddy Andrew came up with it. Why don't you just call yourself the Son of James? My dad's name is James.
Okay.
Right. And it just made sense too. Right. And it had the same.
Cool. Very cool.
It had the same kind of attitude, and it is who I am. Yep. And this music, pretty much to me, Son of James, like, is Shon Wong's storyteller. Like, cool. All the songs are made up about my life and my experiences, and Son of James is the storyteller. Right.
And so, I've done a little bit of background, but why does Son of James obviously have, more merit to you at this point in your life than before?
Well, it's pretty much after my father died in 2000. That's when I started this musical journey.
Right.
And in 2000, my father died, and at that point, as a 20-year-old man.
Yeah. Was it expected?
Yeah, my dad was an older man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, as a young man, you lose your father. You don't know what's going on. You know what you're doing. You need just lost.
How old were you at the time?
20.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you're pretty young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you lose your father at a young age, and you're kind of lost. So I decided, I'm going to go to China, do some healing. So I went to China and backpacked all the way from Beijing to Tibet, and through there, especially when I got to Tibet, I noticed a lot of these Tibetans playing this Tibetan lute. It's kind of like a Tibetan guitar.
Cool.
And as you know, Tibetans have been oppressed for a long time.
Right.
And you can see these guys are just singing the blues with this stuff.
Really?
And something about Tibet that really touched me, because everywhere you go, it's music, it's melodies, it's humming and chanting. It's just very vibrational.
Right.
Tibet's very, very, and you're so close to the sky because of the altitude.
Sure.
So with all this chanting and these good vibes, and you're so close to the sky, you actually feel like you're in heaven.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been to China, but Tibet has always been on like my list of my radar of like, I'd love to go and explore that place. And from hearing you talk about it, like, and I love how you described it as vibration. Like you just probably feel it the whole time you're there, eh?
Exactly.
Wow. So
go
ahead.
And it's a funny thing. I'll tell you a funny story about before I got into Tibet.
Okay.
So I've been backpacking with my buddy. And we'd been backpacking across China now. And we get to outside of Tibet. And so we wanted to find a bar just to party one more last time, because he's going down to Vietnam, I'm going into Tibet. And why this story is important, because it really, like, I really had to earn my way into Tibet through this. This is like the gatekeeper.
Do you speak Mandarin?
Yeah, I speak a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we find this bar, and it's run by this couple. There's nobody in this bar. We start drinking, and the husband comes to me and says, you know, you want my wife to call her girlfriends over. And in China, right away, that's a red flag, because you don't want any girls coming near you that you didn't ask for.
Okay.
Because you're paying for it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a setup.
Okay.
So we're like, no, don't worry about it. You know, it's okay. So, you know, he keeps coming and he keeps pushing. And I'm telling him, you know what? These girls want to hang out. They can come and hang out, but I'm not paying for anything.
Right.
And he goes, yeah. They just want to practice their English. I'm like, okay, if that's what it is, that's fine. But I'm not paying for anything.
Right.
The girls come and hang out. We're just drinking and dancing, just having a good time. So then the guy comes back again. He goes, you know, if you want to take this girl home, it's going to cost you this much money. I'm like, you know, I already told you, I'm like, I don't got any money. It's okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, I get this bad vibe. I grab my buddy. I was like, let's get out of here. So we put down the money for what we owed. I asked for the bill. I put down the money for what I owed for the drinks. But then he gives me this bill, and it's this huge bill. I'm like, what's going on here? Well, you got to pay for the company of the girls, he says. I'm like, what are you talking about? I just told you I'm not paying for anything.
Yeah.
He goes, well, it's too bad. They came, you got to pay for it. I'm like, are you kidding me? Too bad. And like, I start cussing, and I'm just flipping. I'm angry, and I'm drunk.
Right.
So it's a bad combo.
Right.
So I'm just telling them, like, whatever, man, I'm not paying for nothing.
Yeah.
So I put down the money for what I owed for the booze.
Yeah.
And just remember this. The only people who are in this room, me and my buddy, the two girls and the couple, okay? I'm walking out the door, and right by the door, there's this curtain on the wall, against the wall.
Okay.
I'm walking out the door, and out from behind the curtain jumps this guy. This guy had been sitting behind this curtain all night.
Oh, my God.
So anyways, this guy jumps on my back. I'm wrestling with this guy.
Whoa.
We get outside, and there's 5 other guys waiting, right?
Oh, man.
And anyways, I'm just drunk, I'm hammered, I'm angry,
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck you, I'm not paying you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not paying fucking over my dead body.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they start running at us, and I start running, and we start swinging. And I hit the ground, I got dogpiled. I'm getting the shit kicked out of me now.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm getting like punched and kicked in every direction. And at this point, I see like blood, and I'm like covered in blood now. Like my whole body's just covered in blood. I'm like, now I'm flipping out. I'm scared because I can feel something cutting me. And so I say, okay, stop. I'll pay you.
Yeah.
And here's the stupid thing about it, right? The bill was 396 RMB, which is like $80 Canadian.
Oh, man. Oh, dude. Crazy.
Right? This is the dumbest thing in the world.
That's why alcohol and judgment
they
don't work.
mix.
Oh, dude.
So anyway, so 396 is the bill.
Yeah.
I give the guy 400. Before I get off the ground, the guy goes, wait. I'm like, why? The guy runs inside, comes out, and gives me change. After all that.
Interesting.
So,
and that's kind of, I imagine that's kind of like Chinese culture in a nutshell a little bit, right?
Yeah, they screw you over, but they just screw you over for what they actually wanted.
Right.
That's it.
God,
So anyways,
man.
I'm trying to get off the floor now, and I'm wondering, why can't I move? And I realized what had been cutting me up. These guys had hog-tied me in barbed wire.
Oh my God.
Like if I show you the back of my legs, are all scarred up.
Wow.
Right. So anyway, so the next day I'm like just bandaged up black and blue. I get into this bus, this 16-seater bus that they crammed 30 people into to go over the mountains into Tibet.
Right.
Where everybody smokes and nobody wants to open a window.
Wow.
Man, and as soon as I got to Tibet, I kissed the ground.
Yeah.
Like I just got the shit kicked out of me. Almost died.
Crazy.
To get to this holy land. You know,
Man.
and that's what probably made me appreciate Tibet even more.
Yeah.
And it probably why it resonated the music into my soul a little bit more, because I was more grateful for being alive.
For sure. Wow. That's crazy, man. Well, yeah. I mean, what do you say to that? That's a hell of a story.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
I could have died there.
Yeah,
Nobody would know. They could have buried me.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, man. Like, alcohol just does not help with judgment.
No.
Does not help with decision making at all.
No.
Yeah, crazy, man. Well, I'm glad you made it to Tibet. So, I mean, how long did you end up spending in Tibet?
A few weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I went to Tibet. Then I went to Everest Base Camp and saw that. And yeah,
Cool.
man, it was just exactly what I needed to really heal me and put everything together. And after I came back, that's when I decided, I'm going to learn how to play this guitar.
Cool. Like, actually, I'm curious, man, because was that the first time you've been to China?
Yeah.
It was first time. So you went after your father passed.
Yeah.
Maybe did you why did you decide to go to China? Like, what was it about that? Like you said, you went for healing. Like, was it kind of like you knew that instantaneously? Did it kind of creep up? Did someone suggest it? How did that process kind of go down?
I had just finished my marketing and sales diploma at Langara.
Okay.
And an internship came up at this business English teaching school in Beijing.
Okay.
So I was talking to my career counselor, and she posted it, and it's like, man, something about it. I want that. I gotta go. Yeah. It's a sign.
How old were you at that time?
20.
Okay.
So just right when all that happened,
wow.
it was just
Okay. Interesting.
And so right at that time, I was like, you know what, this is a sign. I gotta go. I don't know why.
Cool.
But I just got to go to China.
Yeah. So you felt that. You felt something.
Yeah.
You felt the pull, and you recognized, acknowledged it, and pulled the trigger.
Exactly.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So, and what about being there? Like, how did it feel being there? Like going back to where your heritage from. You were born here, you grew up here, but you've obviously been super exposed to Chinese culture here. But going back to that land, what was that like?
It's man, China's a jungle.
Yeah.
It's a jungle over there. It's every man for themselves. Mm-hmm. You got to have your guard up all the time, and that's what's stressful about it. And I get it because everyone's desperate. There's so many people there.
Right.
There's just tons of people trying to get by and scrape by.
Right.
And so that's why I don't blame anyone, because I've been all over China. I don't blame anybody who's got all the money in the world coming here.
Right.
I do the same thing too.
Right.
Right. Is this China's? The pollution's bad.
Right.
There are good things about it, like the history, and people are cool. People are, you meet really nice people, but there's bad people everywhere.
Right.
And there's desperate people everywhere.
Right.
There's ignorant people everywhere. And you meet lots of that, and you see a lot of the good, and you meet a lot of kind people. Food is great, but the culture is unreal. The history of China.
Right.
And that's what I appreciated the most, especially on my travels. But the pollution is bad. It's a problem.
Did it kind of give you any sense of understanding your parents better, your grandparents, and like just the Chinese culture, obviously more by going there and having the firsthand experience? Yeah,
I did. In terms of respecting your elders and respecting your culture, respecting who you are. And I'll say this about China: Chinese people don't disrespect their own country. They fight for their country, and they believe in their country. They wouldn't like graffiti it, stuff like that. You don't see.
Right.
Interesting. Stuff where you see here, where people just disrespect where they live.
Right.
And that's one thing I felt from China. People really have a respect for order and for where they live and for their own people.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny, like when you see that cross-cultural difference between places, like different populations, different cultures will have different values, right? Like the fact that the guy went back, ran after beating you up and hog tying you with barbed wire to get your change and bring it back to you. Like, that's just, it just is a part, like he just did that because that's what he had to do.
Yeah.
Right? It's so interesting.
Despite the fact that you ripped me off in the first place,
Right.
but I guess to them is an unwritten rule that I should have known.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. By the time you said, yeah, all right, bring him over, but I'm not paying for anything.
Yeah.
Bring him over. Like, they're just like, he's paying. He knows he's paying.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Whatever. Yeah.
And then all they didn't want 400. They wanted $396 on the dot.
Interesting. Crazy. Wow. So you came back and you started learning guitar.
Yeah.
And just like the classical, like a 6-string guitar, basically?
Yeah, it's just acoustic. I started with acoustic and electric. And, from when I started, I've kept a journal from that day to where I am now.
Wow.
And
how often do you write in your journal?
Probably every couple months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Every couple months. And, obviously there was a time where probably went away from it for about a year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of interesting reading that thing and saying,
Right.
like just looking at my progress. And I think I was talking to you earlier about appreciating where you are now, because back then I would give my right arm to be where I am today, the way I'm playing.
Right.
Right. And it's just, it takes a lot of time, a lot of hours and practice.
Yeah. So tell me a bit about that process, because you said you hadn't played any musical instrument before that.
No.
But now here you are in this band and writing music, performing. You got videos coming out. Got an album coming out. All that kind of stuff. But take us through those times, like from 2002 to whatever. What was your practice regime like? How often did you practice? How did you learn? Did you take lessons? Like, what happened in that process?
You know what? At that point, I was doing videos, books from the library, asking friends who are guitar players for tips.
Yeah.
I was just scraping by, and trying to be a sponge and trying to get all this information as much as possible. Trying to go to all these jams. I would go to the Carnegie Community Center. And they would have open jam sessions.
Cool.
And play with people there. I went anywhere I could that I could learn and jam with people just to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because the tough part about the guitar is you really got to get through the growing pains of it. And that's where people stop a lot of the times.
Here I am, myself included.
You really got to, because you get so frustrated because you know what you want to say, but your fingers won't do it.
Right.
And you really got to get through those growing pains, and it just takes hours and hours of repetition, just like working out when you're building a muscle or doing anything. You gotta put in the hours.
Yeah, just keep going. Just keep repetition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And your fingers hurt. You get frustrated. You want to smash this thing.
Yeah.
But you got to get through it. But love. Your love and passion for it conquers all.
Right.
And so if you truly want it, you'll get it.
Right.
So you have to really want it.
Cool.
And I really wanted it.
Yeah, it sounded like it. That's cool. Like when you kind of form this healthy obsession with anything I could absorb, being the sponge, right? So how often were you practicing every day?
Every day.
Yeah.
Day and night.
Yeah.
I'd go to bed and thinking about the guitar. I'd wake up thinking about the guitar.
Wow.
Day and night. I'd wake up and be like, because I'd wake up, man, right as soon as I woke up, be like, bang, bang, bang. Like, I can do it now. I can do it.
Right.
And it went on like that for a while, where I was just trying to figure out the chords and chord progressions, scales.
Yeah.
Trying to get my fingers comfortable moving across the fretboards.
Right. And in terms of that learning curve, it was probably slow, and then was there an accelerating point? Did you kind of hit a tipping point where it just started from like, man, I'm getting this.
I would say from 2000 to 2008 sucked. 8 years.
Wow,
sucked.
that long, eh?
Sucked.
Wow.
It just sucked. It was probably around 2008, 2000. I remember 2008. I'm being like, yes, it feels natural now.
Wow.
I can do this.
Cool.
I get it. For some reason, something unlocked, because the guitar itself the theory itself isn't big. It's just 12 notes.
Okay.
But it's just the memorization of the patterns and knowing the theory of the guitar and where to hit the root notes and whatnot.
Right.
But that takes repetition, right?
Yeah.
But the guitar itself is not really hard in terms of the theory, because it's very small. It's just 12 notes that repeat.
Wow.
And that's it, right? But it's just, again, it just takes time for your brain.
Right, to learn this new language almost, right?
Exactly. And then on top of that, training your ear, what sounds right.
Right.
So it just takes all that time.
Yeah.
So like I said, 2008, it just sucked. It just sucked.
Crazy.
And 2008 till about now, it's been climbing.
Wow. Yeah. They're very cool. That's probably super exciting once you kind of hit that next tier, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
And then along the way, and what I tried to do was just celebrate any type of breakthrough that I had. And that's probably what kept me going.
Cool. So give me an example, like one of the little mini breakthroughs that you would actually celebrate.
Oh, I mean, when I could connect, could connect a scale from one scale to another scale.
Okay.
Where I could solo over a backing track.
Okay.
Easily, and finding out what key it is.
Right.
And stuff like that, or just even writing a song
right.
that just came to me, and I could just plan it out.
Cool. Would you actually do a formal celebration, or was it more just like acknowledging, like, fuck yeah, I can do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Exactly. It was exactly.
Okay.
And then I'd bring my buddy over, and we'd go over it.
Yeah. And be like, look at that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Totally. Yeah.
Cool.
Completely.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then I was reading too a bit more. Like in the beginning, it was just playing. It was just playing the guitar, just playing different songs, and you were writing songs, but you didn't get into the lyrics at all. And,
no.
You know, and then something happened, something opened up, and you had to do that. Do you mind sharing that story with us?
Yeah. So from 2000 till when I was learning so about 2008 to about 2013, I had been working on these instrumentals and songs. I didn't have any words for them at all. Then 2013, my girlfriend passed away. And yeah, so that was a dark time for me. And at that point, all these different melodies and words for all these songs I had written started flowing out. So yeah, you know, probably Sonny James is built on all these tragedies.
Right.
And like I said before, Sonny James is the storyteller to, you know, Shon Wong's experience.
Right. Like I can only imagine how. I mean, I can't imagine how that would be, but. You know, it's really cool to see how you've been able to transmute all that feeling that you had to experience and the tragedy into something positive, into something constructive, because that's when, you know, people can go down pretty awful dark nights of the soul rabbit holes, you know, and depression and just like say, fuck this, and just their life just falls apart or whatever, right? But you didn't do that. And did you ever have any moments there, or was it kind of like, did it just kind of fuel you more to go into the music and go deeper into yourself and that stuff?
Yeah, you know, you had your moments of, you know, you'd have your own pity parties, and you go out and get wrecked with your friends, right? But then at the end of the day, it did fuel me,
right?
Because at the end of the day, where I found comfort was my guitar. So I'd be sitting there strumming the guitar of all these instrumentals I had written, and all of a sudden I'd be just saying these words, like having a conversation with my girlfriend.
Wow. And
kind of that's where all the words came from.
Interesting. Very cool. So is the guitar like one of the biggest elements of your healing?
Yeah, huge.
For that part?
Completely. It's my drug.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a kid, the two posters on my wall was Bruce Lee and Jimi Hendrix.
Okay.
And I've always loved the guitar. I've always been fascinated with the spirit of the guitar. When you hear a beautiful song and when someone really expresses you know, how they feel through music. Yeah. It's to me, it's powerful.
Right. And
very powerful.
You know, being your music's you know, been created from these different tracks. Like, how would you describe the feeling of your music?
It's emotional for sure. My music's very emotional. It's comforting. It's comforting.
Okay.
I think my music is very bittersweet.
Okay.
It's just these beautiful instrumentations. With dark undertones.
Okay.
You know, so I think my music is very, very bittersweet.
Right. And do you know, equate that to, it being the product, the manifestation of these darker times you've had to go through, these tragedy kind of experiences? Yeah,
you know, I think it's, you know, my music is an extension of me.
Right.
You know, I'm a pretty happy guy and positive.
Right.
But I have these dark undertones.
Totally.
Right. Yeah. As you know, because of these experiences. So it's natural for my music to be that way as well.
Right.
And I think your music and your art is an extension of who you are.
Right. What do you hope to accomplish by sharing your music with the world?
Yeah, you know, that there's
or is that a relevant question?
Yeah, you know, it's I don't really hope to accomplish anything except to tell people this is who I am. And just to be honest with my story, and hopefully, you know, people will hear it and they can find comfort in my music.
Right.
And they can relate to it.
Connect with it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and, you know, through my stories and through my lyrics.
Right.
And all my songs, you know, there's messages behind a lot of my songs for sure. And to me, I just want people to understand that, you know, you're not alone. And at the same time too, I think we as a Chinese person, there's really not a lot of music that represents who I am as well.
Right.
Being a Chinese Canadian, right? Because I didn't grow up with hip hop. I didn't grow up with rap. Mm-hmm. So we don't have a sound that's kind of connected to us and that identifies us.
Right, because you're born in this North American culture, but you have this lineage, this roots, this ancestry from China. Yeah. And you're kind of you're caught between the two. So I mean, it makes a lot of sense that you created this fusion sound. Yeah. Of the Chinese instrument and the southern kind of blues rock sound that you got going on, right? And what's your thoughts on have you heard of the term cultural appropriation before?
Yeah, I've heard about it.
So kind of like talking about how is it appropriate to use, just an example, not that it would be this at all, but let's just say maybe someone's upset that you're using the erhu. Am I saying it right?
Erhu, yeah.
Erhu in a rock and roll band, because that's like a traditional, authentic Chinese instrument, and you're bringing it into this completely new area. Have you experienced any negative feedback from that?
Not at all. Actually, it's quite the opposite, where I have the Chinese Cultural Center contacting me. They want me to do shows there. And I think people realize that it's out with the old and with the new.
Right.
We need to evolve. And I'm not disrespecting the erhu at all, because I'm using it in the way it should be used. I'm giving it symbolism. In my music, when you hear the erhu, it's symbolic of something. Yeah. Because when you actually hear the song running, when the erhu comes on, to me it represents my girlfriend, and the lead guitar represents me, and we're actually having a conversation.
Cool.
And so it's like I said, it's a very haunting, chilling, elegant, silky sound. Right. And I'm not using it in a way where I'm insulting it. Right. I'm celebrating it.
Right. And that's ultimately what I come down to when I'm looking at people commenting, or a certain cultural group or subculture commenting on how elements of one culture is being used by elements of another culture. One is is it being respected? What's the intention behind it? And if it's a honest, respectful intention, and it's brought with your heart, and hey man, I'm doing this for good reasons. Yeah. I think that's where it needs to be ultimately. Okay. Is this guy abusing it in any way? Is he, exploiting it in any way? No. Yeah.
If I had a half-naked girl playing the erhu, you know what I mean? Right. I think that'd be a different story.
Totally. Exactly. Yeah.
And I was just using it for the gimmick reason of it. And it doesn't really even belong in my music, but I'm just using it because I want this hot Asian girl playing it half-naked. I think that'd be a different story.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. No, that's cool. No, I was interested. And I'm curious, and also because, coming from, kind of getting back to, because I'm sure there's a lot of second-generation Chinese Canadians that can relate to what you're saying in terms of just being caught between these different cultures, and where do I belong? What am I? What do I make myself to be? And what does that look like? Because we are writing our own stories as we go, right? Yeah. So, from your experience, how was that growing up in Vancouver as a Chinese Canadian second generation? What's that experience like for someone like myself? I'm a white male with Eastern European descent. But what was that like for you growing up in that sort of experience?
The downtown core down in the West End was a real kid-friendly neighborhood. And it was awesome. Growing up downtown was awesome. The park would be full of pickup hockey games every weekend, after school, basketball games, football. Then you have Stanley Park as your backyard. Right. You bike riding through the trails, making forts in the trees with your buddies.
Those are all different ethnic groups?
Yeah. So, you don't really, people just use racism or, would say racist stuff, but it went around equally.
Right. No, that's good.
You know what I mean? And it wasn't too much of one culture. It was there's some East Indians, some Chinese, a lot of Europeans. And so it wasn't, I wouldn't say there was a lot of racism at all. I didn't really experience it. It was a cool place to be as a kid. Right. Yeah.
Well, I got to ask you then, because in your email that you sent me in the subject, you said, son of James, I forget exactly, but battles hate. Yeah. What did you mean by that?
Well, there's a lot of tension going around in this town right now. Anytime you read something in this paper or comments in Facebook and this and that, whether it's about the housing or, shoveling snow and salt, and you know, it's always them damn Asians.
Right.
And then you had that flyer going around in Richmond.
What was that?
There was that racist flyer, Chinese go back to wherever, right? That was happening. Did you see that?
No.
In Richmond, yeah, there's some white supremacist group that was handing out flyers all over Richmond telling the Chinese to go back.
Wow.
So that, yeah. So
Was this last year, the 2016?
Yeah, around like November, like 4th, around, no, around December, around Christmas time.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think so. So I think there's this huge, tension right now because of the real estate and all that.
Right.
And there's this, and I think people forget, there is this new wave of Chinese people coming in who came on first, class plane tickets here, but don't forget about people like my grandfather who came out here on a boat and worked on the railways and busted his ass and earned his right to be here.
Right.
Right, there's a lot of Chinese people here like that too. So don't get it, mixed up with the two.
I think it's super important to learn the history of the land you're on, the city you're on, and how this city actually formed in the get-go. And I was reading about it today actually because I was curious. I was on Wikipedia, history of Vancouver, and so I was reading firstly the indigenous stuff, and like it was really cool to read. So I'm just going to switch the camera here. It was really cool to read they're literally outlining where the different tribes of First Nations people lived, like, around False Creek and Burrard Inlet. And, there's a big part, Mosquito Creek in North Van, and right below Lions Gate on the North Shore there. And then in Stanley Park and like Catsalano area, like all these places. And I was like, wow, like I was kind of like in my mind envisioning this land as it once was, and then how it all changed. Yeah. Right. And then that whole process, right, like the railway was built, and then that just accelerated everything. And this is all really recent, man. Yeah. Like 140 years. Yeah. 140 years is like this explosion here. And then when you hear people handing out flyers in Richmond saying go back home. Yeah. It's just so ignorant. Yeah. It really is. Like, it's almost like you can't even get mad at it because it's like you don't even have a clue. Like it's like being mad at a child. Yeah. But it's crazy that it's that type of hate is existing today in 2017. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's and I guess it's I think Trump's kind of given the green light to do that. It seems like it. I mean, he's not giving the green light. I mean, I think people are responsible for themselves, and so we're all responsible for ourselves, and we're responsible for our children and how we're raised, and how, like, if for people are thinking it's okay to go around and do that because Trump's doing it, it means they have really poor like critical thinking developments in their brain. Like obviously then the way we're raising people in this culture in this country is fucking not awesome. Well, when you look at the history of Vancouver, it really is built on hate. When you think about it, what they did with the Native Indians, the Japanese internment camps, the Chinese people blocking them into Chinatown, and they actually had the Chinese on the Health Code Act. You had any Chinese in your house, you're violating health code. So crazy, yeah. Yeah, when you actually read like old paper clippings of the Province and the Sun, they'd be advertising, don't do your laundry with the Chinese, and take it to a white laundromat. Oh my God. Yeah. And I mean, so that's the roots. That's where we're coming from. Yeah. So of course we're going to have that spillover, but I was curious as to like what that was. So what's your kind of like, what's your message towards that then? Like when you're saying, Son of James battles hate, what, how so? Well, listen to my music and look at our music, look at my band. Mm-hmm. I'm making this beautiful sounds and beautiful music with this eclectic, diverse group of people from different cultures, and it works. Right. We just got to quit pointing fingers at each other and turn us and make all these small little subcultures and all make these small little groups or cliques or whatever you call it. Yeah. And just recognize people for people. Yeah, we are all ultimately in this together. We're one family. We are one family. Yeah. And we live on this land together, and we need to, I believe, live in way greater harmony with each other, with the land, with ourselves. Like, be harmonious within. Yeah. Like, I do believe that the external reality is a mirror of the internal reality. And actually, there is no internal and external. It's all one.
Yes.
It's all inner and outer. So, we need to reconcile these differences and support those who are being suppressed, bring that up and help each other, and then also help ourselves and make sure that we're not propagating this bullshit anymore,
Yeah, and just get rid of judgment. Quit judging people. You don't know what their story is.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a story here.
Yeah.
And just really try to be open-minded and just connect with that person.
Yeah.
And find out who this person really is before you start laying judgment on anybody.
Yeah, and you know what, man? Anyone that's laying judgment on others is probably judging themselves without even knowing it.
Exactly.
And that's, again, like the whole inner-outer thing. Like, that's where the healing needs to happen. You got to stop. You got to see if you're judging yourself. And you probably are. If you're judging other people, which we all do. Like, it's so hard not to judge. You have to have a lot of awareness, man.
Yeah, when you're judging, you're pretty much projecting your fears.
Totally.
Projecting. That's exactly what you're hearing. Mm-hmm. I hate this person because I hate this thing about them that I don't want to have for myself.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, excellently put, man. Yeah, totally. So it's like we gotta acknowledge we're all on like our own little journeys here, trying to do the best we can. But that's cool. I think that's cool that you can bring that level of depth to the music that you're creating. I think that's very worthwhile. So kudos to you.
Yeah, thanks. And I think this is a born and bred Vancouver sound. Mm-hmm. And like I said, Vancouver is probably started changing rapidly, and evolving into another animal. Yeah. That we don't even know what it is going to become yet because of the past few years with with the Olympics. I think the Olympics started it, and then it just kind of fireballed into what it is now. And I think we're all still trying to get a handle of what Vancouver is because we're still a very, very young city. It's completely different from when I was growing up here. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Because now you have all this money in this town now. Right. And Vancouver never used to be like that.
Mm-hmm. What would you like to see the vision, the future of Vancouver to be? What sort of relationships and values would you like to see happen, and how would you like to see it evolve? Less of this, more of that kind of thing.
I think, honestly, I have to say Vancouver has been doing a better job of having music festivals and kind of lightening up on the red tape and having more street parties here and there and trying to make it more inclusive. So, I applaud Vancouver for actually trying to make Vancouver more inclusive. Yeah. And I think I think it is on the right track. I think it's just going to take a little bit more time. Right. But at the same time, too, is there a bit of a class war? Yeah, maybe. For sure. Right. And I think that's where the battle is, making people respect each other for who they are and not what they have.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think if there's one thing that can bring people together, it is art.
Yes.
So these music festivals and these different sort of art displays, you're right. Let's have as many of these as we possibly can in different forms, different types, different places, and it will bring people together and to enjoy what that art is, that transcending modality of expression.
Yes.
And so, no, that's cool. I could connect with that. I can see it seems like it's on this good track because I'm pretty new here, right? So I'm kind of absorbing this in, but my brother and I, we want to be a part of this evolution as well. So getting this type of input and feedback is awesome for me. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
So your album, what's the name of the album? Runnin'.
Yeah.
Cool. And that's the
name of the song.
Name of the songs. Your first single coming out on the album.
Yeah.
And tell us how can people hear it and the release date and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're having an official release in March.
Okay.
And we're setting up.
Do you have an exact date yet?
Yeah, no, not yet, not exactly. Okay, but cool. Go to sunnyjamesmusic.com, keep up to date.
Cool.
But sometime in March, we're releasing it in the States.
Cool.
So we're doing a huge radio campaign.
Awesome.
Down in the States. We're working with a radio tracker down there. And we're going to have in March, we're releasing the single. Then in April, we're going to do an EP release.
Cool.
And take it from there. So far, we've only released the one song.
Okay.
We got 3 more in the bank.
Awesome.
That people haven't heard yet. Beautiful. And I think I'm really excited about those 3, actually.
Yeah.
And if you really like Runnin', see what we did with these other 3.
Cool.
It's really some really cool shit.
Okay. And how will people be able to download the music?
SunnyJamesMusic.com.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. It'll be on iTunes and stuff?
Yeah, we're going to get it on iTunes,
Wicked.
everything, Bandcamp, whatnot.
Beautiful.
And I'm just really excited to be making this type of music. It's been great, the response we've been getting.
Sweet.
We've been getting a lot of press coverage these days, and people really dig the sound, and I think people can really associate it with the Vancouver sound.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I think, like having the history that it has already, and like this from yourself, sharing your journey, being very open about that. I love that you're being so open with your story and how this all came to be, and then having the other members of your band being this awesome mix of different people. It's like, hey, look, this is beautiful. It's such an awesome example of what the potential is for us. And I think it's I'm looking forward to supporting this fully with this episode and launching it, and I can't wait to see what comes out of this, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much.
No worries. And is there anything else you want to share with people?
No, not really.
Okay.
It's and I can do a shameless plug.
Of course. I always do shameless plugs, man.
You can also catch me on ShonWong.com, which is my other website for my personal training.
Okay, you're a personal trainer too. Cool. How long have you been doing that for?
About over 10 years now.
Okay.
And I got my own philosophy that I created. It's called the Eastern Edge Method.
Okay.
And you go through 5 phases, which is carving stage, modeling, casting, construction, then the polish.
Okay.
Right? So the carving stage is, if you're the worst case scenario, it's all about carving the excess fat, carving bad habits, carving negative thoughts, anything bad out of your life, carving bad food, and just making exercise fun for you. And so as soon as we start peeling away the extra layers of fat and we get to a shape that we want, then we go into the modeling stage. Now the modeling stage is all about shaping your body, muscle building, correcting posture, wiring all your movements to your core.
Cool.
Right? So after that we go to casting stage, where you make your body rock solid through holding positions, planks and whatnot, just making your body hard, casting it.
Cool.
And after that we construct it. We teach you how to move with your new body, with everything coming from the core.
Cool.
Then after that, then we polish you.
What does that mean?
We just do more.
You get some coconut oil, you melt it. No, okay.
The polished part is just doing quick, simple, high-intensity workouts that your body can do now. Just quick and easy, like dynamic workouts.
Okay, where do you train out of?
Out of my studio downtown by English Bay.
Okay.
It's called the Eastern Edge Workshop.
Okay, awesome. Very cool. Eastern Edge Workshop.
Yeah.
Very cool. I like that. And I assume, so have you been always in part of physical fitness?
Yeah. I grew up doing martial arts my whole life.
Okay.
Wing Chun.
Okay. Oh, shit. So you could actually handle, what's his name?
Wong Jack Man.
Yeah.
That guy.
Oh, crazy. All right.
Actually,
I had no idea.
Yeah, I was heavy into martial arts for the longest time. I actually got invited and went and trained with the Chinese military for about a month.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
And got invited to do that.
Cool.
And martial arts is a big part. Like I said, the 2 posters on my wall have always been Bruce Lee and Jimi Hendrix.
Gotcha.
From day one.
All right.
So that's probably what I've tried to create for myself.
Yeah.
Not saying I'm a good martial artist like Bruce Lee or a good guitar player like Jimi Hendrix.
Hey.
But everyone's got dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. Aim high, right?
Yeah.
But how do you think your martial arts background affected your music?
It taught me how to train. That's what you need when you get
discipline.
Exactly, because you need when you do martial arts, you got to practice for hours how to do a simple punch.
Right.
And you got to do it hundreds and hundreds of times because it's got to come out right. And you're sitting there doing this boring thing, but you got to do it because you can't get to the next phase without it.
Right.
Just like playing the guitar, like you got to practice different finger movements and skills because you can't move on without doing it.
And after you learn a skill to that degree, let's say making a punch, do you still find that punching action boring?
No, because then you actually appreciate the simple tools that you have.
Right.
And even in guitar, like some things, like you don't need more than a punch. Look at the UFC, all these guys are getting knocked out with one punch, right? If you have that one technique down and you know how to move your feet and use your core and you know how to wind up and let it rip, that's all you need sometimes. Right. And because I think there's a famous quote by Bruce Lee where I'd rather be a man who practice a kick 1,000 times and be a man who's learned 1,000 kick once.
Right. Totally.
Right.
And that's, I mean, I kind of, because when you said that, you know, I realized how, you know, I don't really believe in boredom.
Yeah.
I believe you're not looking close enough.
Yeah,
You know,
totally agree.
you're not going deep enough into whatever you're bored with.
You're
know?
not seeing the bigger picture of it.
Yeah.
You know, you just see this boring thing I have to
Right.
do, but
Right.
you don't see the beauty of what it can be.
Right, because life is beautiful.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
everything,
completely.
right? I mean, that's something we experience at the float house here. You know, going into a float tank where there's no sensory input other than your own body, right, and your
Yeah.
own mind, your own emotions. So it's a very personal experience. But once in a while, we have people pop out of the tank and be like, "Oh, what happened? Why'd you come out early?" And like, I just got bored. And you know, and I won't say anything to them because I'm not gonna, you know, open up a can of worms with someone. But you know, how could you, in my mind, I'm like, how could you be bored? Like it's just such a fascinating thing. It's a meditation, obviously, but then just, you know, I don't think they're looking deep enough.
Well, I think that's where people get confused. People associate meditation with tuning out, but it's really about tuning in.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and people think
Absolutely.
you got to sit there blindly staring at the dot in the sky instead of getting inside your third eye and traveling.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, absolutely.
You know?
It's
Go for a ride.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
you
it's-
meditate hard.
Yeah.
And you get in that third eye, and you get in that zone, and you go for a ride.
Yeah.
Man, you never want to come down.
Do you meditate?
Tons.
Yeah.
Yeah, tons.
Can you share a little bit about your meditation practice?
You know what? I close my eyes and I open up my third eye and I just rip. And I get into this trance where I'm just astro traveling,
Wow.
you know, and I can fly.
Really?
And I get out of my body and I fly.
So have you always been able to do that? Did you practice that? How did you get to doing that?
I think once you do martial arts for a long time, you really get in touch with your body and you can feel the vibrations in the air, in the sky. You really get connected with your environment and the universe. And you start doing these movements where, like, even now I can feel like the fire between my hands, right? And you play with it, right? And after that, I would just lie there. And even right now, I can just like go in and I can travel inside and close my eyes and just fly. And I think there was a time I probably got in tune with it more in Tibet.
Right.
Something about Tibet changed me
Yeah.
completely because it just, like I said, the vibrations of that place just got inside my soul.
Totally. Which part of China is your family from?
My mom is from Taiwan, actually.
Okay.
But my grandfather, who was his family.
On your mom's side or your
yeah,
dad's
on my
side?
mom's side.
Yep.
We're from Beijing, and they come from a Chinese opera family.
Oh, interesting. Cool.
And my father, his father came from Guangdong, China, and southern China.
Okay.
And my grandfather was the one who came here on the boat and built the railways. And my father was born in Cranbrook.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Interesting.
So mainly, yeah, I have. But funny thing is, majority of my family are in Brazil.
Really?
Yeah. My mom's brothers, they moved to Brazil back in the 80s.
Wow.
Yeah. So I actually don't really have any family in China, except for my grandfather's
Right.
brother that runs a Chinese opera school in
Right.
Shanghai.
Wow.
But other than that, majority of my family is in Brazil.
Interesting. So maybe just like really extended cousins if you really want to hunt them down.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. So have you been down to Brazil?
No, I want to go. I want to do
yeah,
a
you're
nice South
due,
American
man.
trip. Yeah, have
Cool.
you?
No.
Yeah.
I've been down in South America several times, but never to Brazil. But it's it's pretty wild down there. So very cool. Awesome, man. Well, dude, let's wrap this up. But thank you so much for coming on. It's sonofjamesmusic.com.
Yeah.
Instagram is the main feed. So if you're on Instagram, at Son of James Music, and get ready for Runnin', the first single off the album, launching in March. And congratulations to this point. I know it's a lot of work, but I think it's just beginning as well. So best of luck to you moving forward. And if we can support you, let us know.
I appreciate it. Thank you again.
Awesome. You're welcome. Thanks for joining us today, folks. If you enjoyed this episode or any episode of Vancouver Real, please give us a like or a share or a comment or whatever, or maybe a rating and review on iTunes. It all helps us out hugely. Floathouse.ca if you want to check out float tanks. We're in West 4th and Kitsilano in Vancouver, and we also got locations all across the Lower Mainland. Use the promo code RECOVERY and save 20% off. We love you guys. Thank you so much. And until next time, do whatever is.